Andrea.
Sorry,
Andrea Mendoza Vasconez PhD, who just wrote The Love Tank, and it's a children's book. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to write The Love Tank?
of course. Well, I've worn and still wear many hats, I think. So just to name a few, I am a behavioral scientist in the field of public health. And so I got my PhD in UC San Diego State University. I did my postdoctoral training at Stanford University, and more recently served as an assistant professor at Brown University. And then I am a mother of two young children. I like to think of myself as a teacher, as an advocate. And now I am also an award-winning author of 3 children books.
Three children. Okay, and what are the other titles?
So I have them with me actually. So the other one is The Gratitude Goggles. Talks
The
about
Gratitude
gratitude.
Goggles.
They're all part of the same series, so the same characters keep coming up. And the puzzle piece. This is about authenticity, self-love. So all these messages that I wanted to, and this goes back to your question about writing these books. So I want to transmit these messages to my children and also share them with children around the world.
Right. And where did your idea of The Love Tank come from?
So the Love Tank specifically, that was my first book. And I feel like that book was a story that needed to be told and somehow used me as a channel to come into this world. I wrote The Love Tank after one of the elementary school shootings. I was really sad about what had happened, and my daughter walked in and saw me and asked about it, and I started explaining to her in terms that a little child can understand. She was almost 4 years old at the time.
Right.
That sometimes people can do things that are bad to others because their love tank is not full.
Yeah.
And so that if we have empty love tanks, we're not going to be able to give love and we can hurt other people. And so I started telling her that that's why I love her and kiss her and hug her, so that her love tank is full. And we started discussing also ideas around how to fill each other's love tanks or our own love tank, right? We can love ourselves
Right.
to fill our own love tank. And a few days later, I was in bed and still asleep at 6 in the morning. She jumped in bed with me, and I didn't want to wake her up, so I felt bed trapped. And I had my phone next to me, and the idea just came back to my head, and I started writing. So the first draft of the love tank was actually written on my phone.
Oh, okay. I'm putting the link in the chat, and I also am putting it in the video description so that they know where to find this. And so this is great. So this whole series teaches kids all about their feelings, emotions, and how to bring out the best emotions in other people. And that's what the love tank is about, right? Trying to, if somebody's grumpy, maybe their love tank is empty, and maybe you can help them, like bring them out. You offer an apple or, kindness and things like that. Those are things you can do. But so tell us, like, what age do you think that these are best for your books? What age range?
So they're marketed for 4 to 8-year-olds. I've heard from children as young as 2 benefiting from them, and also from adults. So a lot of my reviews, it has many reviews already online, and so many of the reviews just state this is a book that could help adults as much as children.
Yeah, definitely.
To understand the concept, right? The concept of loving ourselves, loving each other. And also some of my favorite reviews talk about children who finish the book and go hug their parents and they're like, my love tank is full. Or like they start, really young children who start brainstorming ideas of how to fill other people's love tanks. And also reviews that basically kind of express the idea that it's it has the potential to affect change at a societal level if we start living by this notion that we need to have full love tanks in order to be able to radiate our love to others. Right?
Right, right. Because, I mean, we're living in some scary times. You mentioned a school shooting being your inspiration. I mean, we just had another one a few days ago, right? So it's tough times for kids, and kids just starting, school. Do you have any advice for parents, like if they're dealing with kids that are hearing about stuff on the news and are scared? Like,
Yeah.
Any advice?
It is. We are living in scary times. And again, if we think about the concept of the love tank, we also don't want to. What I always say is, I don't think the people are intrinsically bad, right? We are a product of our circumstances. So hurt people. And that's what this book is about. And so kids seeing this evil out there, right?
Yeah.
I think need to understand that hurt people, and that we live in a society. We need to radiate love and hopefully spread love in order to come out of this hole that we're in as a society.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know, maybe it's just because we cover a lot of true crime and we know a lot of it and know it personally with a very good friend of mine, the horrific tragedy that took away her pregnant daughter and her kids. And it's like, there is evil out there, right? So it's not that, I know of hurt people, but, and I believe that people who come from like horrible things can end up doing horrible things to other people, but like the true evil, when you see it, and kids ask about it, especially like kids we're seeing a lot of kids being killed by their parents, which is crazy, but the kids in the classroom, so it's like you can't keep them away. You could say, oh, I could stop it, but then 2 or 3 little kids aren't in school anymore because their parents did something awful. How do we explain that to our kids? I mean, that's the whole thing, is this horrible evil we try to shield them from, but unfortunately it's becoming more and more prevalent. And I think there's probably almost everybody that knows somebody that's touched by some type of tragedy like that. Unfortunately, it's just terrible now.
Yeah, and I think the only thing that we can do is from our end is keep spreading love, right? I think love is the antidote to fear. Love is the antidote to so many different things. So I think that's what the best that we can do, and teach our children to spread love.
Right. Yeah. There's no, and to not be afraid, because that's the delicate balance, right? If we would. People thought, like, if we taught our kids all about strangers and everything, we're teaching them to be so paranoid. And some kids do get really anxious. I know my son with strangers, we laughed about it the other day, because they had our school almost on lockdown when they were like in kindergarten or first grade, because they said they saw some man, in the woods and they told the whole school, and the school went on lockdown. And I said, and then they said, well, maybe it could have been some kind of lawn worker or something, but better to err on the side of caution. But it can make our kids more paranoid of everything, and if we have anxious kids to begin with, it's a delicate balance that we work as parents, right, on how, because some kids get really affected by it. I know we've had one of my good friends, Rosemary D'Alessandro, her daughter was murdered at 7 years old by the neighbor next door, who was a science teacher. She was a Girl Scout delivering Girl Scout cookies. So she was a few years older than me. And because of her case in New Jersey, they wrote a special book with our police department. And I remember them bringing it to first grade. And I remember the chief of police reading it with us. And I was like, it put me hyper aware, where I was like so scared. And we lived in a very safe area, so did Joan. And I remember if I heard a car behind me, anything, I kept thinking it was like this bad person that was going to grab me or snatch me. And so, yeah, but it's important to bring it down to a kid's level. And I think, unfortunately, we're either sometimes a little more aware or a little more anxious, but it's better to be like that and have the awareness, right, than not. And we'd like to have our kids live in just nothing but sugar plum fairyland, but that's not the way the world is.
Well, and just to give you, to add on to that, my daughter, for instance, when she was, I think, 4, she was still in preschool, came home one day and started asking me about guns and things like that. And she was really scared. And it turns out one of her little preschool friends had told her he was gonna come. He knew where she lived.
Oh my God!
He was gonna come to the house and shoot her or something like that. And this is a 4-year-old.
Yeah, that's
and she was
scary.
terrified. And she didn't want to go back to the school. She didn't want to see this kid.
No.
And so, I mean, we did talk to, and I did end up talking to the mom and stuff. But I talked to my daughter about this, and again, I mean, I brought up, and I had already, this is after I wrote the love tank, and I brought up the idea of the love tank and how, I mean, maybe some people, it's not about her, right? So a lot of the reviews that I've gotten to are people whose children have faced bullying,
bullying, yeah.
And they and they're able to talk about it, right? In terms of the love tank, they're able to talk about how it's not about them being the bullying is not about the person being bullied, but about the bully himself, right? The person doing the bullying, and how that person may have an empty love tank, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think in a way it helps children to understand, okay, it's not me. It's not me who is the problem, right? And I think that's important too.
Right, and bullying starts early. Like I have a friend here at the channel, and her grandson just started kindergarten, and she said, they already have bullies in kindergarten? I said, oh yeah, because I remember it. Yeah, they do. I mean, kids can learn that behavior real early, right? And it's unfortunate. And if it's not nipped, in the bud, and some schools, I think schools now have a lower and lower tolerance of it, but it used to be like, oh, well, you have to deal with it, kind of thing. And it's scary, but look at the 6-year-old that brought a gun to school and shot his teacher. We think that, okay, this 4-year-old might just be, but where does a 4-year-old get an idea like that about a gun and bringing it to school, or going to her house? But that's where it's coming. It's coming from somewhere. And parents, I think now with what's happening, where they have already sentenced 2 of the parents in a school shooting, and now they just arrested the dad in this one, I think parents are going to kind of be a little more hypervigilant. But just like in this last one, the mother called the school, and they were already at the house once the year before. So it's like, you're going to step up and take notice, and you can't do this stuff if you're buying your kids a gun or whatever they're using it for, hunting or something, that you've got to still be responsible for it as their parent. It's a lot of ways our world is very different.
It's crazy. I mean, we're living in crazy times, but I am hopeful. Because I do think that a lot of people have realized how crazy things are and are trying to add their voices for some sanity, right?
Right.
And that's where I'm coming from, I think, with my books, is we can choose the path of fear or we can choose the path of love. And I choose the path of love because there's too much fear, there's too much stuff going on out there already. We need to be the antidote to everything that's happening if we want change for our children, for our children's future, for the world, right?
Right. So in the love tank, I just want to show them, you have the illustrations are by Rita Nilsson. And so they're really nice, the illustrations, very realistic, but very pleasing to look at. And it's about, you have different tanks in your body, right? So you have a food tank, which is your stomach.
Yeah, I mean, so it's asking children to imagine. So it's not, it's a figure, right?
Yes, exactly.
So
You're
that's important
imagining.
to imagine that we have different tanks in our body. So our knowledge tank is our brain that fills with, knowledge, and our food tank that fills with food, and then our love tank, which fills with love, right? And so we can help each other to fill our love tanks by acting in different ways, right?
Yeah.
So that page, for instance, shows in the illustrations different ways to. And I don't know if you're familiar with the work on the love languages. So a lot of that is relevant, right? So how can we fill each other's love tank? And different people have different love languages, etc.
And I love this page because this has like the different moods, like how they show you, like when they have your pain scale, how they show you those faces. But this is from happy to where are we, grumpy, really grumpy, right? So kids can relate to, even young kids, like if you told them like, well, what do you think this girl feels like? Do you think she's happy or sad? She's happy, right? And this, so there's different things you can do. I love reading books. I read to my kids in utero. So, but yeah, you can tailor this, I think, for any age. You see like these two girls making this one feel terrible, and you can expand on that with your kids. Like, what do you think happened there? How do you think she feels? What could they have done? What could you do if you saw the girl like this? What could you do to help her? And see. So I think there's a lot that you can expand on with the book, but the book is a great tool to get that conversation started, and about, the love tank, being kind. And that's like, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. That's what we need to remember. And there's adults. That's the sad thing when you say adults need this book. There are adults that are just so mean. Like, I've never in my life thought of it. I guess we didn't have social media growing up, but that somebody's grandmother would be on the internet saying the most disgusting things to another mother. But it happens here every day, every single day on social media. There's these bullies, and they happen to be grandmothers, and it's like, are you kidding me, right? I would never want to bring that example to my grandchild to say, oh yeah, my mother's on there bullying some other people, right? I mean, so it's like something's missing, and yeah, they might be hurt people, but they didn't learn how to regulate things. So this is important that you learn early on, and we start talking to our kids early on about it, right?
Yeah, but that's again a moment to reflect and think. It's not about me being bullied or the person being bullied. It's about that person, right? It's about whatever happened to that person that's making her act in that certain way.
Right, and it's usually a reflection of what they, if they feel they're just projecting, and it's just sometimes, that you hear stories where they can turn the bully around, right, with something they say, and then, the bully becomes their friend. And that's great when it happens, right? But it's hard. We deal with bullies from early age all the way on. It doesn't end. That's what I'm saying. So we have to learn how to understand it. Is it very important, as you said, to understand it's not us, it's not our kids, it's that person that's acting in that way, and there's reasons.
Right, because it can get to you, right? So I think in the book too, there's a page where it says if you start feeling a little grumpy yourself, your love tank might be running low, and I feel like if you're being bullied, so it gets to you, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do? And I think the book says this too. What do you do? Surround yourself by people who love you and who remind you of who you are. And if there's no one around, love yourself just the way you are. Right?
Yeah, that's very important. Yes, I remember that. I read that. Yeah, that's really important, because you want to be around people that build you up, and somebody constantly bullying you is going to bring you down. So get with the people you love. That's a very good message.
And love yourself.
Yeah, and love yourself. So you have a series. So are all the other books available now?
They are, yes. And so this one, speaking of loving yourself, for instance, the puzzle piece that I showed you, that expands on that a little bit. So it talks about how we're each unique pieces in the puzzle of the world, and we're needed just the way we are to be able to make the puzzle complete. So kind of a call for children not to not to feel the need to change themselves in order to fit in, but to be
Right.
authentic to themselves. So we live in this society that's constantly pressuring us to be something that we're not, and I feel like it's something important that I want my children to know is that they're loved just the way they are, and that they should love themselves just the way they are instead of trying to change themselves.
Trying to fit in, to be somebody else's version of what they think they should be. But and then you have gratitude goggles, so it's just about being grateful. Is that for?
Yeah, so that one came up because the inspiration for that one was I think mainly losing one of my dear friends to mental illness, substance use, and just realizing how prevalent that problem is nowadays in our society. Especially among children, 10 to 14 now, it's the second leading cause of death. Suicide is the second leading cause of death. And so, as a mom, you see all this and you wonder, how can you help? How can you raise children who are healthy, physically, mentally? And so the gratitude goggles was, also came out of this. Because gratitude has been shown to help a lot with depression, mental health, and it's of course not the end all be all of mental health, right? But it helps. It's been scientifically proven to help, and also because again we live in this society that's constantly bombarding us with messages telling us we're not enough, we don't have enough. That's how they sell, right? That's how marketing companies sell their product, as telling us you don't look pretty enough, you need to buy this makeup, or you don't have enough, you need this car. And so we're constantly told we're not enough, we don't have enough. And of course we have skyrocketing rates of depression and mental health issues that we're constantly told we're not enough. And so I think with our newer generations, we need to just let them know that we are enough. We have enough. We don't need to keep buying. We don't need to. And so the gratitude goggles came out of that. And it's basically asking children to imagine different sets of goggles. Some that make everything look gray and dull, right? Kind of like depression. And the gratitude goggles, which brighten up everything and make and let you see the world in full color. And so, this is something also that I talk to my daughter about, for instance, is when she's grumpy or moody or whatever, or she wants more things, right? Is, have you forgotten your gratitude goggles? We have enough. We have enough.
Right. Yeah. And isn't that the way it is? Like, I've got to get these sneakers and this thing, and this one has this, it's like kids are bombarded with that, and they're bombarded with it at school too. And if they don't actually have the means to get certain things, there's kids that get bullied for that too, because they don't have the right sneakers or the right clothes or the right, they can't do the same things, and it's sad. So being grateful for what you have and understanding that you may be different, you'll fit in, so that other, message is really important. Don't change yourself to fit into what somebody else thinks, she thinks you need to be, but be confident in yourself, the confidence and having that, because when you see kids that have that, it's just such a wonderful thing that they don't have to feel, they have to be somebody else, to be accepted.
I dream of a world where children mainly feel like that, right? The majority of our kids, they don't have to change themselves to fit in. So hopefully the messages get spread far and wide.
Well, anyway, your books are great. Did you want to add anything before we go? This is the Love Tank. I have the link to it, and you have a website. Your website is, I'll put that in there too, but it's the Wholesome Children's. Is it wholesomechildrensbooks.com?
Wholesome Children Books. wholesomechildrenbooks.com.
And I'll put it in the video description. You can read more about the author and the illustrator. And is the illustrator one of your friends?
She's actually, she lives in Ukraine, actually.
Oh, in the Ukraine, okay.
And she's great. She's also a mother, and I actually tested out illustrations with different illustrators, And I loved her work, and I loved her connection to the stories. She perfectly captured the intent of the stories, and even you can see it in the scaffoldette and like everything. Just she was
She has
on.
great expressions on. It's very good. Yeah, definitely. Especially like I said on here, you can easily see all the different expressions.
Yeah.
Very, very easily, and I think kids relate to that, and that makes a big impression on them. Some, kids before they can even learn to read, you can basically tell the story, anyway, just by you see this girl, she's screaming at this little boy, But so very, very expressive illustrations. I like them a lot. They're very good. And did you have anything else that you want to add before we go about the books or your series or anything coming up?
So I don't have any books coming up, just the 3 that are out right now. I mean, I do have a ton of books written. It takes a lot of work and effort to put things out there. So I'm currently gonna take a pause on publishing more and just focus on these spreading messages again of authenticity, gratitude, kindness, empathy. I thank you so much for your time. And
thank you for talking
work
to us about it. Absolutely. And so it's the Love Tank, and thank you so much for speaking with us. It was a pleasure. And everybody else, we're going to go now. We'll see you later. Okay, and I'll just get us out of here. But thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Can't see. Okay, bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Okay, everybody, I don't know if I find what I did there. Okay, I thought I ended the meeting for everyone, but I'm still here. So, okay, the Love Tank, the link to the books in the video description. I'll put the link to her website in there too, so you can check out whatever else is coming up when it does come up for her. And then for you guys, I'll see you guys later on. I don't know if they've caught, Linda was asking me about that shooter. I don't think they caught him yet, but we'll talk about all of that stuff and more tonight. Everybody take care, have a good day, and now I have to get us out of here, so I have to go back to, for some reason, my thing to end this is not here. And if you're watching on TikTok and everything else like that, you can go to the video description on YouTube, Mommy Ramblings blog on YouTube, and you'll be able to see the link for the book and the website. Thanks so much, and see you guys later as soon as I get us out of here. Here's the Extreme End now. Take care.